years would go by, and every time this topic, every time this conversation, every time my mind reflected on this day in history, it would trigger me emotionally to the point where tears were uncontrollable just by thinking about it. And obviously the events I'm speaking of are 9/11/2001. I remember that day vividly, as I'm sure you do. It's one of those moments in history that unfortunately occurred, yet no matter who we were or where we were, during that time we all remember probably exactly what was going on. So for me, I had just relocated in July of 2001 to North Carolina to be the publisher of the North Carolina Home Book. In essence, publisher is a fancy title for being a sales manager. In essence, I went down there to run a sales team. We had 4 months to get this book created and sold to anyone who deals with high-end homes in the Charlotte, Greensboro, and Raleigh-Durham areas. So we were talking with the architects, the builders, the designers, the landscape architects, home furnishing, decorating, etc., home theater technology, all that. Beautiful book. It was an idea that we had 4 months to get ready. And I moved there in July, and do the math. 2 months into my new position as the publisher of the North Carolina Home Book, September 11th occurred. And on that particular morning, I had an interview, an appointment with the interior designer that was well known in the NASCAR circuit. He had been the interior designer for many well-known and well-respected NASCAR drivers. I was on Route 77, en route to meet with him at 9 in the morning. So I left roughly 8:30, probably 8:15 in the morning to get to his office on time. And that's when I heard on the radio that a plane had hit one of the Twin Towers. And automatically I'm like, what the heck? That is so weird. Because I lived in New York City for a brief amount of time, and I never really saw planes near any of that area. I was like, man, that is super odd. Like, what are the chances of that occurring? Something drastically wrong had to occur. And then my sister called me, and I pulled over and took this call because my mind was racing, like, what's going on? My sister, Christy, called me, and she was filling me in on what's happening. I'm like, wow, what are they saying? Like, what caused this? Like, was the person have a heart attack, or like what happened to where this occurred? And then as she was on the phone with me describing what was being shared on the news, she's like, oh my God, like another plane just hit the other tower. I'm like, what? Like that breaks now. It's not a mistake. It's not a mishap. This is an attack. I said, let me call you right back. I called my office. I had 4 sales reps there and an office manager, and so 5 people in the office that they were there roughly 8:30 in the morning, somewhere around there. I called. I said, we're under attack. Go home. Send everyone home. She's like, what's going on? I'm like, I don't even know. All I know is there's 2 planes that hit the Twin Towers, and it's not an accident. We are under attack. I said, head home. So I sent the office home. I continued on to the interior designer's office. And I had more conversations with my sister. And at that point, I believe the other plane had hit in the field in Pennsylvania. And it was just like, what's next? What's coming now? Like, this is a massive pre-planned attack, obviously. And with my Marine background, I knew that this was not something that was construed quickly. This was something that had been planned for a long time. And obviously didn't know what else was going to occur. So continued on after talking with my sister, who was 12 years younger than me. So 17 years ago, I'm 29 years old at the time. Or actually 28, about ready to turn 29. And my sister must have been 16 or 17. So I'm letting her know, like, no matter what, just remain. She's not in a big city, so remain safe, remain calm. Like, somehow, some way, this will all work out. We'll figure out what's going on. We'll figure out how to remedy whatever is being done. Anyhow, continued on to the interior designer's office. And when I got there, then in their waiting room, they had the TV going, and the TV obviously had the news going, and no words were spoken. Like, the appointment was off the table, and everybody was just fixated on the news, wondering what the heck is going on. And long story short, ended up chatting briefly with the well-known interior designer. Said, look, this appointment we'll reschedule in the near future, whatever, but go, I'm going to go take care of my family. You go take care of yours, etc. So we ended that appointment, went back, and at the time, when I moved there in July of 2001 and had 4 months to get this book created, and then obviously halfway through that, September 11th happened. I went with my girlfriend at the time, who was pregnant with my first child. So here we had, this was September 11th. The baby ended up being born on February 22nd, 2/22/02. So here now, with almost a baby coming into this world, now the question is what am I doing? Where is the world going with this new unknown incident happening? Bringing a baby into this world, wow, it's my mind started racing on that and questioning the goodness of humanity and all this fun stuff. Long story short, that put a lot of question into my mind of a lot of things. How do we pick up and when do we pick back up business? It was confusing as to when can we start having appointments and start getting back on track. And it was quite odd. I'm sure if you remember these times, if you were in sales, if you were in any type of outside, business, it was an interesting dynamic of just when do you get back to business? And if so, how do you just get over this big elephant in the room? And I remember having some conversations with some builders and some architects in Charlotte and in Raleigh-Durham area, and just having those conversations man, what are your thoughts? Where do you think this is leading? And so basically just having life conversations that then led into business. Then fast forward into October of 2001. I have a picture on the wall of me and Zig Ziglar. But Zig Ziglar was in town in Greensboro, and they actually changed the venue. This was for a Peter Lowe Success event, and I had paid for the tickets. They canceled the initial event, which was in September. They scheduled it for October in 2001, and I chose to go there. And when I went there, I paid for a breakfast with Zig. And when we walked in, Zig was at the door, shaking hands and saying hi, getting a picture, and then kind of pushing us to the table. Got to the table, and I saw Zig Ziglar still standing over at the doorway, and everyone had pretty much been seated. And, everyone's getting to know each other. I said, "Excuse me, gentlemen, I'll be right back." I got up and started walking over to Zig. And I heard people at the table saying, "Is he allowed to do that? Or can we do that?" And I didn't know if I could or not, but I just figured that's my chance to speak with someone who has been highly impactful in my life, Mr. Zig Ziglar. So I went over to him and I said, "Zig, I'll be honest, since the events of last month, of September 11th, what are your thoughts?" And Zig Ziglar said this to me. He's like, "You know what? That put us on our knees, and that's exactly where we needed to be. So do the praying, do what's necessary to get yourself emotionally and spiritually grounded, and know this to be true. If we stop selling, the terrorists win." He's like, "You as a salesperson, it's your duty, it's your responsibility to get up, get out, and continue selling the products and services that you believe in, because if you don't go at it full force, the terrorists win." And it really clicked something within me, and I'm grateful for that moment with Zig, and he shared with me that wisdom, because it really helped me get off from my knees. Yes, there's a time when these catastrophes put us on our knees. Then it's time to get grounded, get up and take action to move forward and continue moving forward. So that's what I did. And, July is when I moved down there to get this done. September 11th happened. Then within that other 2 months, we ended up selling roughly $400,000 worth of advertising in this home book, and made it happen regardless of the obstacles of the challenge that came after September 11th. And that's something that I would recommend I can keep considering and keep reminding myself of. Look, it's my duty and my responsibility. If I have something, let's just say, as the example everyone gets, if I had the cure for cancer, I don't want to be keeping this a secret. I want to get it known. I want to get it out there to help those who can be benefited by it. Well, I don't have the cure for cancer, but what I do have is special knowledge that helps people improve themselves and get the results that they're looking for in personal and professional endeavors. So it's up to me to get that knowledge out there in any manner that I feel honestly and ethically can accomplish that task to help these people. So similarly, I would have you consider that wisdom that Zig said. What is it that you do, and how can you give it your all? And get out there and keep doing what's yours to do, because when you go at it half-heartedly, it's not the best that you're capable of, and it's not giving the people that you can serve the value that's waiting for them to be served with. So get out there and go give it your all, and knowing also that this journey is brief. So, that day stole a lot of lives, right? And none of us have any guarantees of tomorrow or next week, or next month, next year, all that fun stuff. So give it your all while we have the opportunity to be able to give it our all. Because there will come that time that it will be our last day, that it will be our last breath. And I want you to look back with massive appreciation, massive high five attitude. Like, I went for it. I did what was mine to do, not the converse of regrets, of not doing what you knew was yours to do. So remember this day. And also I remember sitting on the side of the road when my sister was explaining to me what was happening. And that's the day that I actually transitioned from being the massive student to saying it's time for me to answer the question that a lot of people pose to me. Tom, how do you do it? You get into something and very quickly, not knowing all the details, you get to the very top, right? So I've done that in bicycle riding. I've done that in wrestling. I've done that in other sporting activities. I've done it in businesses. I've done it in sales organizations. Came in, set my intention, and very quickly was at the top. So I began to answer the questions that many pose to me. How do you do it? And what's led to being my Success Magnet system was created in 2001, and that's when I committed to transitioning from being just a student to also becoming a teacher. Started hosting and conducting seminars at that point. Met Jeffrey Gitomer. December 31st of 2001, he pointed me in some directions that really gave me some tremendous leverage. So 9/11 was a turning point for me, and I hope you can look back on it and say it gave you the lessons necessary to give you the proper stick-to-itiveness and proactive going for your dreams, recognizing like it's my time is now. My time is now. So look back on that and know that this proves to be true. The quote from Napoleon Hill: every adversity carries with it the seed of equivalent or greater benefit. So this was an adversity that gave me and the world who witnessed it PTSD. Like it really impacted us all in a very tragic way. Yet that can give us the lessons necessary to live our life a little more fuller, a little more out of our comfort zones, to go for the dreams in a much bigger fashion. So I hope when you reflect on this that you do pay homage to those first responders and those who lost their lives, and also look back on it as a reason for you to go for your dreams. Get clear on what you want and go for them. So I made it through talking without crying. It's been many years in order to make that happen, but I hope you can look back on it and recognize that that quote to be true. Every adversity carries with it the seed of an equivalent or greater benefit. So take this huge adversity and turn it into a benefit. All right. Let me know where you were on that day. And until next time, make today great.